Howdy, howdy, all. Welcome to Goose Talks Film. I'm your host, Goose, and today we are tackling the 2024 conspiracy thriller Conclave, starring Ray Fiennes and directed by Edward Berger. Here on Goose Talks Film, we do weekly movie reviews, usually new release movies, sometimes two a week, but definitely one a week. So welcome on in. I'm your host, Goose, for Goose Talks Film. And let's tackle Conclave. This movie is getting a lot of marketing, I would say, and a lot of word of mouth around Oscar season. Now, this type of movie is perfect for these December, January wide releases, mainly because they get not so much free, but they get wide marketing from, you have the Academy Awards / the Oscars, which is your biggest award show. Then you have the British Academy Film Awards, you have the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, Producers Directors Guild, all those awards. Mainly the first three or four are your great marketing ploys to use because these movies campaign for the awards, and then across award season they get all the marketing from the red carpet and trailers, etc., etc. And this movie is perfect for that. It's made just under 90 million, and it's still finishing up its wide release. So it's got a week, maybe week and a half, 2 weeks left of its theatrical run, and then you have streaming and all that coming into people buying and renting it. So it's probably going to come close to hitting that 90 million mark, if not hitting it. So, yeah, I think it had a bit of budget of 20 million. This is a perfect type of movie because if this was released outside of awards season, middle of the year, middle to late, early to middle, it wouldn't do as well as the box office. I'd imagine just the type of movie it is because a lot of people like myself, we try and watch all the movies in the running for all the big awards, like Best Picture and all the acting categories and all that. So, the marketing works on people like me because I definitely watch all the movies nominated for Best Picture at least, and then I try and watch all the other ones as well, the Best Animated Feature, Best Foreign Language. All the movies are only nominated for the technical award. So, yeah, I am one of these people. There's definitely, not so much a sheep, but I'm very much the target audience for these award shows. And what people say is, it's just, famous people patting themselves on the back. Yeah, it is, but it is more so a marketing ploy. It's all about money. Let's not forget that. That's what I say to people. Yeah, it is famous people patting themselves on the back. But at the end of the day, it's marketing all about money because they want to push these movies and make money from them, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, Conclave is, I will tell people without giving any spoilers or anything like that, this movie's probably not what you think it's going to be because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was kind of middle to bottom of the Best Picture nominees I was most excited to watch. And also, I'd already watched a few of the nominees before they were actually nominated. So it's a conspiracy thriller. It is a movie featuring Catholicism, the Catholic Church, obviously the Pope. So this is a spoiler-free, brief plot line. When Cardinal Lawrence is tasked with leading one of the world's most secretive and ancient events, selecting a new Pope, he finds himself at the center of a conspiracy that could shake the very foundation of the Catholic Church. So it kind of gives it away in that plot, or that plot outline description, whatever you want to call it. I had read a different one that wasn't as straightforward. It made it feel like it was just going to be a very religious / drama type movie that was just, showing you the inner workings of what happens or what most likely happens in one of the most secretive events that takes place, every decade, 20 years, depending on how long the previous Pope obviously serves. Sorry. So when I watched this movie, I hadn't actually read this plotline on IMDb. I'd only read briefly, I'd seen clips, and I watched the movie, and that was the best experience for me. So I'm trying to tell people to watch this movie without knowing too much, and, take this word of advice. Stop the podcast here, watch the movie, come back, and then finish the podcast. Even before I get into the spoiler territory, I think it's going to make your experience so much better. I mean, this is just, I won't say an all-time cast, but this is, one of the best casts of 2024/2025. This cast is just utterly brilliant. The screenplay is amazing. Cinematography, the music, everything about this film is just great. It's nominated for 8 Oscars. Half of those are the technical awards, like Best Music and Best Costume Design. I think it missed out on cinematography, which is a huge, huge oversight in my opinion. But it's also Ray Fiennes nominated for Best Actor. I forgot her name. Oh my god. Isabella Rossellini is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And then you have Best Adapted Screenplay, I think. I think it missed out on Best Director, but it's also nominated for Best Picture. So really hope it takes out one of those awards because it never looks good in the history books when you're looking at IMDb or Wikipedia. And you see movies nominated for 7, 8 plus Oscars and doesn't win one. It just doesn't look great. And I know it's not always about the Oscars, I know, but as a awards aficionado, as I do my own award show on here called Golden Goose Awards. Don't know the name of my own podcast. Golden Goose Awards. If you want to watch or listen to that, that's on YouTube and also wherever you listen to this podcast. It's on there from a few weeks ago. Go listen to it or watch it if you love award shows like I do. Anyway, so yeah, this movie has got Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, Don Lithgow, as I said, Isabella Rossellini. You have a few Italian actors/actresses in there as well. You have Lucian Masamati. I really hope I'm not mispronouncing that, but just some great character actors, and you have your big actors like Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci are probably the two biggest names in this of name and face value. Don Lithgow, definitely off the face and the voice. You would know him. He's voiced a lot of big movies. He's acted in a lot of movies. He's been supporting. He's been a lead. TV movies. He's been around for a very long time. He's a very decorated actor. He's fucking fantastic. Then you have, someone like Lucian, who plays Adeyemi. You would know his face as well. Big British character actor. And, look, before I get into spoiler territory, if you are trying to watch all 8, 9, 10 Best Picture nominees, that's the category you obviously want to watch the most, put this as high on top of the list as you can in the top 3, 4 to watch. If you don't think you're going to get around to watching them all, now this probably won't win Best Picture, but you will enjoy it. And it might not be a movie that you'll watch outside of the awards, because I've watched a few movies like Coda and September 5, which I've watched, which is nominated for Best Picture as well, which I'll maybe review on the podcast depending on how other episodes go next week. So I will recommend, watch it. It is not what you think it is. It is not I don't want to say glorifying is a wrong word. That puts wrong connotations. But it is not fluffing up the Catholic Church, or it's really quite the opposite. It's showing that politics and money and greed will come in the way of, the most lucrative and passionate things you can think of. When people think of the Pope, they're among like royal family stuff that people look up to them, and that's great. I'm not a religious person by any stretch, but I do appreciate people that are religious in any religion. I'm open to anyone's beliefs and whatnot. So if this movie was about any religion, like nominating a leader to any religious leadership role, that was a crap way to put that, but you know what I mean. I would watch it. I would watch it. If it was about Hinduism or any other religion, and this movie, do not think that it is a movie that's just fluffing up the role of the Pope and making Catholicism the only good and best religion, because that's just not what this movie is. It actually got review bombed by a lot of Catholic groups, and I'm not saying every Catholic person or Christian person or whatever will be against this movie. I'm not saying that at all, but I have read a lot of review bombing just from people that haven't even watched the movie. They've found out what the ending is, or they've found out what happens throughout the movie, and they're against it. So that should kind of cure any worries that you have about this movie being like that. It is just, it's using this this setting and this secretive thing, this election, as a basis for a great story that dives into, like I said, greed and humans and what humans will do and what they're willing to sacrifice, what they're willing to throw away their morals for. It is just fantastic. I recommend this to anyone. So if you haven't watched the movie and you don't want any spoilers, stop here, because we'll dive into the deep dive plotline with nothing but spoilers. So please stop here if you haven't. Stop here, watch the movie, and come back and let me know your thoughts on the movie Conclave. All right, so we are in to the spoiler territory. As I always do here on Goose Talks Film, I will read the big, long, spoiler-ridden full outline synopsis, so please bear with me while I get through it. After the Pope dies of a heart attack, the College of Cardinals, under the leadership of its Dean, Thomas Lawrence of the United Kingdom, convened to elect his successor. The four leading candidates are Aldo Bellini of the United States, a liberal in the vein of the late Pope, Joshua Adeyemi of Nigeria, a social conservative, Joseph Tremblay of Canada, a moderate, and Goffredo Tedesco of Italy, a staunch traditionalist. Janusz Wozniak, the prefect of the papal household, claims the late Pope demanded Tremblay's resignation on the night he died, which Tremblay denies, while Bellini tells his supporters his goal is to prevent Tedesco from becoming Pope. Meanwhile, Lawrence is surprised by the last-minute arrival of Archbishop Vincent Benitez of Kabul, whom the late Pope named Cardinal in Pectore the previous year. Lawrence gives a homily encouraging the college to embrace uncertainty, which some interpret as a declaration of his papal ambitions. Following the first ballot, no one obtains the required two-thirds majority, though Adeyemi has a slight edge and Bellini and Lawrence split the Liberal vote. Raymond O'Malley, Lawrence's assistant, compiles background information on Benitez, during which he learns the late Pope paid for his plane ticket to Geneva for a cancelled medical appointment. On the second day, while breaking for lunch, the college witnesses a confrontation between Adeyemi, who leads in the votes, and Sister Shanumi, a nun recently transferred from Nigeria to Vatican City. Lawrence privately speaks with Shanumi, who confesses to an illicit relationship that led to the birth of a son. Though Lawrence is bound to secrecy, a whisper campaign derails Adeyemi's candidacy. Bellini reluctantly decides to back Tremblay. Working with Sister Agnes, the nun overseeing the cardinal's accommodation, Lawrence discovers Tremblay arranged for Shanumi's transfer. When confronted, Tremblay claims that he did not. He did so at the late Pope's request. Lawrence then breaks into the late Pope's quarters and discovers documents that indicate Tremblay committed simony. He shows the documents to Bellini, whose plea not to reveal their existence sparks an argument. On the third day, after revealing Tremblay's actions, Lawrence reconciles with Bellini and agrees to oppose Tedesco. He votes for himself during the sixth ballot, which is interrupted by an explosion that knocks him to the floor and damages the Sistine Chapel. The college learns the explosion was caused by a suicide bomber who detonated himself near the Vatican, killing many in the crowd. Tedesco calls for a religious war, while Benitez says violence should not be met with violence. The college overwhelmingly elects Benitez on the seventh ballot, and he chooses the papal name of Innocent. Lawrence is initially enthused until O'Malley pulls him aside to discuss the nature of Benitez's cancelled medical appointment. He confronts Benitez, who reveals that he was born with a uterus and ovaries, but was unaware they existed until an appendectomy. The appointment was for a laparoscopic hysterectomy that Benitez decided against because he believed God made him the way he made him. Lawrence wanders around the ground of the Vatican, listening to the crowds cheer Innocent's election, before returning to his bedroom and opening the window. So, that is the movie Conclave. As you can tell, a lot happens, and this movie really took me by surprise in that it really was a mystery type thriller / drama with so many twists and turns, and it was just so good. It was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I didn't think that it was going to be a bad movie per se, just because what I thought it was going to be was just a straightforward drama about them trying to elect the Pope, and it just be, character driven or actor driven, whichever way you want to put it. And I mean, it still was very well driven by its cast, but I think the best thing about this movie, you can't just put into one thing or put down to one thing. It was a mixture of the music, the direction, the cinematography, the writing, the acting, and just the overall feel of the movie, the editing choices. I mean, I can't remember if this is nominated for Best Editing, but it should win. It is probably one of the best edited movies I've seen in quite a while, in terms of pacing, but also just the editing in general, that you are able to follow along what's happening without watching too much fluff or nonsensical stuff or stuff that doesn't need to be in there. I mean, this movie just goes on just over 2 hours. So I think the pacing and the editing was just brilliant. Ralph Fiennes, best lead actor nominee, well deserved. He probably won't win. I mean, it's almost a certainty that he won't, going on what the experts are saying, and also the awards that have already been announced. He's probably not one of the favourites, but if he won, I'd be over the moon, and I wouldn't question it. I mean, I wouldn't question majority of the um, lead acting category winners or nominees. Isabella Rossellini was good. She wasn't in it a lot. I was quite surprised that she did nab that Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress over someone like Margaret Qualley or other ones that were probably, I don't want to say better, but probably more likely to, I guess, because her overall screen time would be, I want to say, 15 minutes or less. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually less than 10 minutes, but you can 100% have an impact in that time. Don't get me wrong. Anthony Hopkins won Best Lead Actor with 8.5 minutes screen time or some bullshit. So I'm not disagreeing with the runtime nomination or anything like that. I just don't think her performance was super powerful, but being probably the only substantial woman featured in the movie, she does kind of stand out in a very good way. Because obviously in these traditions and whatnot, women aren't considered for the Pope, but yeah, obviously. So that makes this storyline, even like crazier. And it goes to Pope Joan, who supposedly was the first and only female Pope because she dressed as a man, acted like a man until she wasn't Pope anymore, if I'm not mistaken. But that's never been, obviously, and it never will be, but it's never been factually proven or disproven. It's kind of just been a bit of history or a myth, whatever you want to call it, whatever your beliefs on that story are. This definitely does dive into that, and Stanley Tucci's character, Bellini, does really well in kind of priming you up for the twist a little bit, because Benitez is a man. Like, he's... I don't know what they call the proper term is. It's like mixed sex, or they have the male genitalia, but they have obviously the ovaries and all that on the inside. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but that's what I gather, was because he didn't realize that he had ovaries and stuff until he was in his 20s or whatever, and he had that surgery or the scan, whatever it was, I can't remember. So yeah, that was kind of like a massive twist, because it wasn't like they were trans or anything like that. It was something that does happen. Was he was raised and grew up as a boy, because in his eyes he is a boy. He wants to be a male and all that, and he's not ashamed that he has ovaries or anything. So Benitez is a very good character. I knew that he was going to play a big part because he kept voting for Lawrence, who is obviously Ray Fiennes' character, and I thought that he had been lying to Lawrence, that it was him that was voting for it, but it was maybe someone else completely different. And he was trying to, I don't know, worm his way in, and he was going to get elected Pope somehow. And he was one behind everything, getting Tremblay and getting Adeyemi and all these guys, so he could be Pope. But it wasn't that at all. It was, I thought it was a cutthroat thing like the Borgias TV series with Jeremy Irons. I thought it was going to be something like that very cutthroat, do what they want to get the position that they're in, who, we don't really have a character like that. We have, I forgot his name now. The one that Bellini doesn't want to be a Pope. I can't remember his name. He's the Italian. It's really annoying that I can't find his name. Tedesco. Sorry, it took way too long to find the name. Tedesco. Now I forgot what I was even trying to think Tedesco about. But anyway, why I was even trying to find his name. But anyway, the point I was originally getting to was Stanley Tucci's Bellini was saying he wants to continue the previous Pope's work of trying to get more women involved in the church, have higher positions, and have more say in what happens and all that. So that was kind of like a little hint as to maybe something like, there are people within the church that want women and just don't want traditional men to rule over everything and have all the decision making and all that type of stuff. So I thought the Bellini's character was really good. He was actually based on a real life person. It says, an American liberal, Bellini's previous failure to gain an election despite being the early favourite is based on Carlo Maria Martini's experiences during the 2005 papal conclave. So I did get that a bit. I didn't I don't know the history of the popes and like the papal elections and all that, but I did get the feeling that a few of these characters were either a little bit or fully based on real life people, because that's what I always find great about these fictional movies is sometimes the best characters is, you know what, I'm going to take, someone like Bellini who is based a little bit off, the only thing that's telling me that's based off the real person is that he was the clear favourite to win, didn't even get a majority vote or led the election at any point and ended up losing. But then you add that to, Bellini's whole thing is that he doesn't want it, but he doesn't want Tedesco to be Pope. So it's kind of that thing of, well, should he be in that position of power? He only wants to really do it so someone else doesn't want to. It's a really good question to ask. It's, are you willing to do something you don't want to do, and maybe, your performance is going to lack because you don't want to do it because you don't want someone else. It could be worse than you or has different beliefs than you do it. And, Bellini's one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting character in the movie, expertly played by Stanley Tucci. I mean, he missed out on a nom here, but if you haven't seen him in The Lovely Bones, one of the best performances you'll ever see. How he didn't win the fucking Oscar for that blows my mind. But like I said, it's not always about Oscars and award shows, but do yourself a favour. If you watch this and you love Stanley Tucci in this role, if you want to watch a complete polar opposite fucking role, watch Stanley Tucci in The Lovely Bones. It will just leave you just gobsmacked. The whole movie will. But his performance just, oh my God. Saoirse Ronan, incredible. Anyway, we're not talking about Lovely Bones, but go watch if you haven't. Or if you haven't watched it recently, watch it for the performances and make you feel like fucking shit afterwards. Anyway, John Lithgow as Tremblay, like he's kind of a character that, you probably don't hate as much as Tedesco, but you only hate Tedesco really because other people are telling you to. Like, we don't hear or see Tedesco do or say a lot of terrible things other than, a few of his beliefs, but a lot of that comes from second or third hand information. So it's kind of that character contrast of Bellini. Usually it's him or Lawrence that are peddling this stuff of Tedesco. He wants to be a complete traditionalist. He wants to pretty much kill, make null and void all of the progress and inclusion that the previous Pope did and what Bellini wants to continue. And then you have Adeyemi, who not so much a traditionalist, but he is... The big thing they say against Adeyemi, which is kind of like the only thing you need to take on a board as to why you don't want this person to be Pope, is that he thinks that all homosexuals should be imprisoned or burned at the stake or whatever term they use. But obviously, anti-homosexuals are homophobic, obviously. So they don't want him to win, but he leads the vote for majority of the film until it's obviously revealed that he got a woman pregnant, which is frowned upon because it was obviously out of wedlock and it was secret. A few things that come into it. So you have the two main people that the characters in the movies telling us that we don't want to be as Pope, and that's Adeyemi and Tedesco for reasons that kind of share but also differ. I think Adeyemi does really regret getting that poor woman pregnant when she was really young and he was still quite old. He was, I think, 31, 32 and she was 19, I think they said. So it's not illegal, but it's still fucking weird and a bit fucked up. He did generally look like he, wanted to be forgiven and he pretty much stood aside. And that shot of him sitting there pretty much looking absolutely disheveled and defeated when he's already coming fourth or fifth in the vote because Lawrence kept his word. He obviously didn't break the rule of being told in confession, but obviously the whispers got out anyway, and he was ruined. And like I said, him and Tedesco, very they'd be both anti-homosexual or homophobic, whatever way you want to put it. They would both be like that from things they said, the other characters said, and things that were insinuated against them. And then you have Tremblay, who's kind of in the middle. He hasn't done anything horrible or terrible, or his beliefs really aren't that bad. That's why Bellini kind of concedes to back him, because he knows that he's the greater of, or the better of two evils against Tedesco. because they're the two favourites when Bellini starts to lose a bit of momentum and Adeyemi is out of the race. Tremblay was pretty much prepping himself to be Pope before the Pope had even died. He was pretty much trying to get people's vote and, like doing dirty deals, and he screwed over Adeyemi. And it doesn't reveal if what Tremblay was saying about the Pope told him to get this woman over and he didn't know what it was about, or if he's making it up and he did it or whatever. Bit of a grey area, and that's okay because it leaves Tremblay's character kind of in a better position because you're not quite sure where he stands and what type of person he is. And that's what I mean about what people were willing to do for greed and position was he was pretty much undermining the current Pope by already trying to step into his shoes before he had even passed away. And he was already doing it before the signs had fully come into effect that the Pope was going to die very soon. So that tells you that he's a very greedy person. He's very ambitious. And, well, speaking of ambition, another twist I thought we were going to get, probably the main twist I thought we were going to get until, the third of the film, was that Ralph Fiennes' Lawrence was actually behind everything and he wanted the Pope position and win the papal election the entire time, although he's shown to us as this very good character. He's very loyal and, he's just a very good person, has a great character. He just wants the best. He doesn't want the Pope position. I thought that was going to be the twist because a few characters kept saying, Bellini and Tremblay a few times had said, oh, we didn't realise how ambitious you were, blah, 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 and he, got very defensive, as he would. So I thought, oh, is that going to... Because the way that the movie's playing out and whilst you're watching it about 20, 30 minutes in, you're like, okay, well, they're building us up for a twist of some sort or a rug pull or something. It's not just going to be a straightforward thing that Adeyemi wins or Tedesco just win and they, Bellini and all that just end up leaving the church or whatever. It's, I didn't think it was going to be like that once we're half an hour in. I thought, okay. And that's kind of good about this movie too, is you're invested so much. You're like, okay, what's the twist going to be then? Like, and you're on the edge of your seat. Like, okay, well, it's not Tremblay's going to be Pope. Like, what's going to happen then? And the Benitez thing, like I said, the only way I thought he was going to be Pope was that he was behind everything and secretly somehow because the Pope wanted him to be Pope for some reason. That's why he got him in the position that he was in and in Kabul and all that type of stuff. But then I thought, no, I think it's going to be Lawrence is actually the mastermind of this whole thing and he wants to be Pope the entire time. But it wasn't that. He turned out to be a good character and he was still, I think, just taken aback, but he was still happy that Benitez was voted in Pope because once he'd spoken to him and Benitez had said the things he had said to him, he was like taken aback and shocked as he would be. But I think he was happy because at the end of the day, like what the last scenes of Lawrence pretty much show us that he's at peace. Like he's happy, like because he starts smiling when he hears them cheering that Benitez has become Pope, and that is afterwards after he finds out. Then he's in his room and he's smiling still, and he's hearing the cheering. So yeah, I think Ralph Fiennes was just fantastic. It's not his best performance. That'll always be Schindler's List. But it is just... And that's a high bar. Like, again, he didn't win for that, which is, like, mind-blowing. And you have the English patient and, obviously, Voldemort, which was overacted, but on purpose into perfection as well. As the whole Harry Potter franchise was a lot of stage actors, a lot of it was overacting, but it worked. Overacting always isn't a bad thing, by the way. Batista's career started as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy when James Gunn realised his overacting was good for the character of Drax and it worked perfectly. Now, Dave Batista's acting career has gotten better because he can actually act. He doesn't overact all the time now. He's differentiated. It's, just perfect stuff. Love it. There wasn't a bad performance in this. There wasn't really a point where I was getting bored, which is pretty crazy for a just over 2-hour movie about a papal election. It's pretty crazy. I never thought I'd be saying that. But then again, he's not 3 hours. He's not 3.5 hours at The Brutalist, which I hopefully will be watching in a few weeks. That is one of the favourites to win Best Picture. And Adrian Brody's the favourite to win Best Lead Actor. I think Ralph Fiennes is sitting about third or fourth in the betting. So he's not really a chance, like I said. Adrian Brody's kind of the clear favourite at the moment, but I'd be happy to see him win too. Even though I haven't seen a performance, I just like him as an actor, and I think it'd be good for him to win two Oscars because the penis was phenomenal. Anyway, so Yeah, they're all pretty much like the major things that happen in the film, but the the directing and cinematography, the set decoration, the costuming is just simply awesome. Like they do such a good job with the setting and making it another character for the film. And I talked about that in my Nosferatu review last week. Was Robert Eggers does a really good job of making the cinematography and the set decoration, designing all that another character of the film, like the main character. Conclave isn't that stretch; it is still very character and actor driven, but the setting and the set decoration and all that is a very close second, in my opinion. Edward Berger does a phenomenal job. Peter Strawn and Robert Harris do an incredible job at writing. We'll go through the 8 Oscars it is nominated for, and I'll talk about, because I've looked at the odds and all this type of stuff on how likely it is to win any of these awards. So it is nominated for Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Pictures, Original Score, Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, Ray Fiennes, Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role, Isabella Rossellini, Best Adapted Screenplay, Peter Strawn, Best Achievement in Film Editing, Nick Emerson, Best Achievement in Production Design, Susie Davies, Cynthia Sleater, and Best Achievement in Costume Design, Lissy Crystal. So I was wrong. It is nominated for Best Film Editing, but it did miss out on the cinematography nomination, which is just mind-blowing. So it is a slight chance for Best Original Score. That's quite a stacked and quite a broad category. There's no clear favourite yet. It won't win Best Motion Picture, unfortunately, unless maybe it does well at the BAFTAs and maybe the SAG Awards as well. It might pull like a Parasite that got a lot of heat late in its run heading into the Oscars, and it won Best Picture, and it took everyone by surprise except for me because I won money on that. Anyway, Ray Fiennes and Isabella Rossellini both in the same position, probably sitting third or fourth in their respective categories, but it's great to see them nominated though. Best Adapted Screenplay is probably an outside chance. It's probably sitting second or third, and I'd love to see Peter Strawn win. Film Editing, I think it's a chance. Again, an outside chance at second or third. It's not a favourite. Best Achievement in Production Design, again, outside chance, second, third, maybe fourth. It's not a favourite. Best Achievement in Costume Design, that'll probably go to Wicked. I'm 100% certain it will go to Wicked. So you can't even say that Conclave is a chance for that category because it's probably going to go to Wicked. Same as Production Design, probably going to go to Wicked, or maybe Nosferatu, hopefully Nosferatu. But I think the strong chances of Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Achievement in Film Editing are the two big chances. So yeah, I've kind of hit all the big beats and all that type of stuff. It is just such a fun movie. It's not a movie that I'll probably rewatch a lot, a bit like Nosferatu. If I'll ever rewatch Conclave, I don't know. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it or anything like that. It's just not all movies have high rewatchability, and that's fine. It doesn't ruin your experience the first time you watch it. I think I'm more likely to rewatch Nosferatu if I'm having like a vampire marathon, or I want to watch the original Nosferatu and then the 79 remake and then the 2024 remake. Or maybe I might show Conclave to some people that I think, like, my mum, who's 60, like that generation would definitely love this type of movie that have been around a long time for all the different papal elections and all that type of stuff. So, and I loved that the main character obviously was from the United Kingdom, so he's speaking English a lot of the time, but obviously he spoke fluent Italian. And, Stanley Tucci being American, and then you had, Tremblay being Canadian, then you had Tedesco being Italian, then you had Adeyemi being Nigerian, Benitez being from Kabul. I like the diversity and all that, and it obviously made it easier for people. I mean, I watch a lot of South Korean and Japanese movies and TV shows, so I don't mind reading subtitles, but a lot of people are put off by it. So I think it was a good balance of Italian with the subtitles that people could follow along, but if they kind of didn't pay attention or they looked away and missed a line or two in Italian, it didn't really matter that much. A lot of the movies in English, so I think that's going to definitely turn a lot of people on into watching this movie. So I think that's a good sign, but they're also being respectful that this is set in Italy. And obviously, most of the popes have been Italian, or I think French and then German, I think, are the top three. So, yeah, look, it's probably all I can really say about the movie. I've hit all the beats and all that. I can't talk more positive about it. We'll jump into a bit of trivia. There's only. Oh, wait, no, hold on. Yep, no, there's more trivia. This is big trivia. Many of the actions Cardinal Lawrence and the rest of the cardinals take during the film's conclave process are accurate to the Catholic faith and centuries of tradition. After the Pope dies, his ring, called the Ring of Fishermen, is removed and destroyed to prevent it from being used to forge the Pope's seal on documents. The Vatican makes an official announcement that the throne of the Holy See is vacant. The papal apartment is closed off with crimson ribbon and sealed with a wax papal stamp. The College of Cardinals are sequestered in apartments to eat and sleep between votes. Finally, the windows and doors to the Sistine Chapel, where the actual election takes place and ballots are cast, are darkened, shuttered, and locked to maintain the secrecy of the conclave. Some newer security measures are shown as well. When the conclave that elected Pope Francis I convened in 2013, the Sistine Chapel was swept for bugs and other electronic listening devices. ID cards were issued to all conclave servants because a reporter disguised as a servant was discovered during the conclave that elected Pope Benedict in 2005. All members of the College of Cardinals were required to surrender their mobile phones and other electronic devices. Vatican City's Wi-Fi network was temporarily shut down and wireless signal jammers were installed in the Sistine Chapel. So that was a good scene they showed. It was, if you're not familiar with the process at all, like had very minimal understanding of what happens with this election in particular. So they did a great little few minutes showing of them ziplocking all the phones, iPads, tablets, of them shutting all the blinds, them scanning for bugs and all that. It was showing you this, like they take this to the utmost secrecy, that this has to be a secret thing. Anything, like nothing can be leaked, nothing. They're willing to take as many precautions as they can. So that was a good, short scene, but it was simple, but it was straightforward and showing you this is how secretive it is. It's a big deal. You might not know anything about the Catholic Church and the process of voting in a new pope, but this is showing you how secret and how big of a deal it really is. So I think that was really good. When Lawrence and Bellini discuss the size of the cassocks on the rolling rack, it's an indication of what happens after a new pontiff is elected. Before the new pope first greets the faithful, lay assistants known as the papal gentlemen help him out on the robes. An array of sizes are at hand for his first appearance. The next day, the new pope is measured for a new... Yeah, that wasn't really interesting, sorry. In the novel, Cardinal Benitez is a Filipino and from the Archdiocese of Baghdad, not Kabul. Okay. So I wonder why they made that change then. Maybe just to be a bit more, I don't know, modern maybe? Yeah, I'm not sure. The word conclave is derived from the Latin meaning of a place that can be locked up or come together. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Filming took place from January 23 to March 23 in Rome, Italy. Some scenes were shot at Cinecittà Studios. Yeah, okay, so it was filmed 2 years ago. Wow, there you go. Took nearly 2 years for a wide release. That's actually pretty crazy. Post-production wouldn't have been full on for this, but there you go. Assuming no other popes in the film's universe has chosen the same name, the new pope would be Innocent. I don't know how to say that because that Roman numeral is very hot. 13 popes have been named Innocent. The most recent Innocent served from 1721 to 1724. The choice of a name is believed to be highly symbolic, often indicative of the political course that the new pope will follow. In this case, the most recent popes called Innocent were reform-orientated and took steps against corruption. That goes in line. That goes in line with Benitez. Last one. In the movie, the Pope dies in a room of the Vatican guest house. Traditionally, the Pope lives in the papal apartments. However, Pope Francis decided to live in a small two-room suite in the Vatican guest house and use the papal apartments as an office. The film may be implying that the dead Pope is Pope Francis. Might be reading into a little bit. Maybe they just took that idea of, oh yeah, well he actually, and also to fit into the story that they all kind of are living and staying near where the Pope had passed, and it makes it easier for Lawrence to break into the apartment to, begin a big plot point of the film against Tremblay. But interesting. So yeah, that's that for the trivia. That's that for the movie. Please let me know in the comments or a review, what did you think of Conclave, or you listen to this whole podcast because you don't care about spoilers, but you're wanting to watch it. Hopefully I swayed you to watch it if you're still second guessing. This is one of the movies that I'll be really hyping up and really cheering for the Oscars and the BAFTAs and the SAG Awards, along with Nosferatu. They'll be the two that I'll be really going home with. And Brutalist, if I love it, Emilia Perez, I'll be against it. I just don't think that's a well-made film. I think that's just unfortunately politically driven. I think this movie, I wouldn't say better, but I would say this movie has a great message behind it. And I think that it does just a much better job at purveying that message and getting to the point of that message without ramming it down your throat, but making it simple enough for you to understand. That's all I'll talk about Emilia Perez. The only nomination that got the Golden Goose Awards was Best... Was it? Yeah, Best Supporting Actress for Selena Gomez. Anyway, we're not talking anymore about Emilia Perez. Conclave did receive a few nominations at the Golden Goose Awards, so be sure to check out that episode and the previous episode of Nosferatu. I'll be reviewing Wolfman in a few days, most likely released this Friday evening, so make sure you're subscribed or you're following with notifications on any platform you watch or listen to this to. Make sure you follow me on social media, Goose Talks Film, on Instagram and Facebook, and on YouTube. If you're listening to this, you can watch the video versions over on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribing. And next week, we'll be tackling quite a few. I'm hoping to do Hard Eyes, Companion, and maybe another horror that I literally forgot the name of. Must be very important. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys, /watching. Much appreciated. Thanks for all the love. Nosferatu did really well with the viewership /listens and sustained listens and the followers and subscribers I got from that episode. So thank you all so much. I'm back into the rhythm now after doing the Golden Goose Awards and obviously doing the Nosferatu episode and now the Conclave episode. And I'll be doing Wolfman in a few days, like I said. So getting back in the gist of it, I really appreciate people sticking around after me not posting an episode for 5-6 months. So very much appreciated, guys. And you know how it is. Make sure you support your local theatre/cinemas and go watch those movies. I'll catch you later.